Welcome to GamerU's tips and tricks for Might and Magic Heroes Online. This video is about the value of long-range units in your army. It can't be stressed enough how long-range units are extremely valuable to your forces. The name of the game is minimizing casualties while maximizing the enemies, and no one does it better than long-range fighters. They can straight up pull your bacon out of the fire as long as they have a single defending melee-based unit to protect them while they hide behind it and the terrain to throw out damage without fear of casualties. Plus, they're going to be invaluable for dealing with the enemy's own pesky long-range units, especially those that have a huge range, or can fly over terrain and other obstacles. The enemy AI for long-range units is great at constantly bombarding you while running away. While melee units will have to chase them down and possibly put themselves in danger, long-range units can just fire back or force them into a bad spot. So here's a few tips for you to make the most of them. For one, you have to do everything possible to keep them away from melee enemies. Melee terrible casualties on long-range units, severely weakening them, if not outright killing them. Plus, any adjacent melee stacks next to long-range units prevent them from using projectiles. Make sure to block off access to them using terrain and melee units, particularly choke points. Part of keeping long-rangers the heck away from melee units is to very carefully check the range of each enemy unit before committing to any move. You can just hover the mouse over any unit, allied or enemy, to get a view of its movement range, which is blue, and its attack range, which is red. Now, if you stay out of the blue and the red, you're safe from the enemy. But more important, be sure to double check whether or not projectile attack will cause your long-range unit to move. You see, the game will automatically make your long-range unit move if it has to hit its target. This is signified by the glowing blue tiles on the ground when you hover over a target. This will show you where exactly the long-range unit is going to move to. So, if you aren't careful, your long-range unit will hit the target, but in the process move to a spot that will get it exposed and block your under units, causing disaster and on. So double check where it will move to first, or if you have to, move the unit yourself before firing just to make sure. If you do manually move your long rangers before firing, you need to make sure it's not into a position that is blocked by terrain or other obstacles, because the game won't necessarily tell you. Some long-range units can fire through anything in the way, but some can be blocked by certain types of terrain or cannot shoot through allies in the way. They can shoot between obstacles, but not directly over one. So for these kind of long-range units, you need to get familiar with which kind of terrain they can't shoot over. Generally, anything tall enough to obscure tiles behind it, like a mountain-shaped terrain tile, cannot be fired through by these types of long-range units. The most important long-range technique to master is kiting enemies. Powerful giant enemy stacks are murder for melee enemies, but are easily kited by long-rangers. That is, long-range units that can just hit, run away, and repeat, while the giant enemies waste time chasing after them to no avail. If you're using a unit like ghosts that can phase through terrain, or skeletons that can lower enemy movement, this gets even better. Just make sure not to wander into a dead end, otherwise these giant enemies are going to be at a loss as to catching you. That's all for now. Stay tuned to GamerU for more info on Might and Magic Heroes Online.